Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Usman Parang Saparivraj Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna and welcome to all the devotees online. Thank you very much for your kind presence as we continue associating with Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 6, verses 1 to 10. Chapter entitled Creation of the Universal Form. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uthapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishnu Khan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Piyusha Sarva Vedeka Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokai Triprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu Kalidando Didaritya Shri Krishna Parivartita O Srimad Bhagavatam O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who is returned amongst us. Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varsha Sharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namaste. O Srimad Bhagavatam, offer respectful obeisance unto you. By reading you one attain strength and nether bliss. For your syllables are impure of God Pandurya. You are always to be served by everyone for your incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madeka Bandhu Mad Sanghe Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Mad Nisharaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. Sadhu sadhu tadainatini chochataraka hanamun chakda chinmam premna ritkatayospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, of give us saintliness to unsaintly, uplift the very fallen. Please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest Mahatma throat, accompanied pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yatanvayaritaratascharte Swabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hidayadi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yat Sargom Risha Damna Swena Sada Nirasta Kwakam Satyam Param Dhimai. O my Lord Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O pervading personality of Godhead, offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, destruction, and manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by illusory representation of water seen in fire, land seen on water. Only because of him, the material universe is temporarily manifest by the reaction of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existing in transcendental abode, which is forever free from illusory representation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is absolute. Prayana Shasabhya Kalabasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Upadrata, O learned one in this age of Kali. Iron age of Kali, men have short lives, they are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayan Namaskritya Narachevam Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tojay Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasa, the author. Sabai pumsa paro dharmo yatho bhaktira dokshaje ahitukiya prati yata yatna suprasiddhati, supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayachisa Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Hoitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the person of God as Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires personal knowledge and detachment from the world. Vedanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yat Gnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Sabhyate. Then a transcendentalist know the absolute truth called this non-dual substance, Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. Shri Shushosha Dadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchisyan Mahatsivaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. Utwise upon sages, by serving those devotees completely free from all vice. Great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shranvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Reddantastoya Bhadrani Vidunati Suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of a truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nasta Prashubhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloker Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtaki. By regular attendance in the classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service under the person of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Savodharmam Parinishtaya Janma Labha Parapam Samante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaririti vrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, where they be full of all material desires, without material desires, or design liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta and the Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna and welcome back. Let us cover if anybody has any feedback from last week's or the last session. If there's anything that you remembered, caught your attention, please let me know in the chat. And Teorika and Alinikanda says a devotee can get happiness through devotional service. The best Lord, the best shelter, the best process, the best everything. So our pleasure, the living entity's pleasure is derived from giving pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Temporarily, we may be able to get flickering happiness, flickering satisfaction from many sources, but eventually it will not last. If the living entity does not genuinely revive his eternal relationship with Krishna, there is nothing that can replace that. I was just seeing one video of they call them mega churches in America. You have all these multi-billion-dollar churches that have studios across the globe and thousands, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 people in attendance. And, that was a trend. And now most of those buildings are empty. Why? Because they are not transforming individuals. They are not reviving people's relationship with Krishna. Their message is, God wants you to be successful. You'll be happy. Just continue, have faith. That does not transform. It impresses people. And because of the numbers and because of the dynamics, people may get little excitement. But the living entity is looking for more than excitement. The living entity is looking for that relationship, that lost relationship. And when that living entity finds the key that lost relationship is in relation to Krishna and one is to engage in devotional service, then one becomes happy. And the process is simply engaging in devotional service. So we're continuing creation of the universal form, verses 1 to 10, the development of the gigantic universal form. Text 6.1. Shamananda process, impersonal aspect not complete, have to come to the Supreme Person's understanding. Offer food to Krishna. Don't have anything, don't accept anything that's not offered to Krishna. Prabhupada makes that very, very clear. And Bhagavatam makes it very clear. Krishna is a person. And in the last chapter, we heard how the demigods, the different material elements, they started offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. You can't offer prayers to something that's impersonal. Impersonal means nobody's there to hear. So why do you have to pray? Why do you have to offer prayers? So that path of impersonalism is incomplete, is dangerous, and very difficult. Krishna is a person, is the most attractive, most beautiful, most compassionate personality. And we need to offer everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, starting with what we eat. If one simply offers one's food or one only eats foodstuffs that's offered to the Supreme Lord and chants the holy name, slowly one will make progress. So, first text, Rishu Vacha, Iti Tasham Swa Shaktinam Asametyasaha Prashupta Loka Tantranam Nishamya Gatim Mishwara. The Rishi Maitreya said, the Lord thus heard about the suspension of the progressive creative functions of the universe due to the non-combination of his potencies, such as the Mahatattva. Prabhupada in the purport says, there is nothing wanting in the creation of the Lord. All the potencies are there in a dormant state. But unless they are combined by the will of the Lord, nothing can progress. The suspended progressive work of creation can only be revived by the direction of the Lord. Krishna's creation is complete. Even though it's complete, it cannot move. Nothing can move in this world without Krishna's will, without Krishna's sanction. Even in our own life, it's not that it's not that the material energy or even the spiritual energy doesn't have what we need in this material creation. Krishna's potencies are unlimited. So he has everything in unlimited quantity. But yet, we may find either a lack or we may find that something's missing, not because of Krishna's resources, but Krishna's will is not there. The next question is, well, why is Krishna's will not there? It's again coming back to those two fingers too short analogy. Yes, you're endeavoring, but still there's lack. Still there's no success. Still there's no progress. Still something's missing. Why? Because Krishna's will, Krishna's mercy is not there. Both has to be there. Text 2. Kala sangnam tada devim bibrak chaktim urukrama trayo vimsati tattvanam ganam yugapad ashvi avishsad. The supreme powerful Lord then simultaneously entered into the 23 elements with the goddess Kali. His external energy, who alone amalgamates all the different elements. So here we see now Krishna entering, even though all the elements were there, but they could not act without Krishna's involvement. The ingredients of matter are counted as 23. The total material energy, false ego, sound, touch, form, taste, smell, earth, water, fire, air, sky, ear, eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, hand, legs, evacuating organ, genital, speech, and mind. All are combined together by the influence of time and again dissolve in the course of time. Time, therefore, is the energy of the Lord and acts in her own way by the direction of the Lord. This energy is called Kali and is represented by the dark, destructive goddess, generally worshipped by persons influenced by the mode of darkness or ignorance in material existence. In the Vedic hymns, this process is described as Mula Prakriti of Vikritir, Mahadadya Prakritir Vikritaya Sapta Soda Shakas to Vikora na Prakriti na Vrikriti Purusha. The energy which acts as material nature is a combination of 23 ingredients, is not the final source of creation. The Lord enters into the elements and applies his energy called Kali. In all other scriptures, the same principle is accepted. In Brahma Samhita 5:35, it is stated, Ekyo paso aso rachayuta jagadanandakoti yachaktirasti jagadanda chayayat anta andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primal Lord Govinda, who is the original personality of Godhead. By his partial plenary expansions, Mahavishnu, he enters into the material nature and thus and then into each and every universe as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, and then as Kshirodakasaya Vishnu into all the elements, including every atom of matter. Such manifestations of cosmic creation are innumerable, both in the universe and in the individual atoms. Similarly, there is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10:42, Atava bahu netena kim gnatena tavarjuna vistabhyam idam krishnam ekam sena stito jagat. Arjuna, there is no necessity of your knowing about my innumerable energies, which act in various ways. I enter into the material creation by my partial plenary expansion, Paramatma, or the Supersoul, in all the universes and in all the elements thereof, and thus the work of creation goes on. The wonderful activities of material nature are due to Lord Krishna, and thus he is the final cause or the ultimate cause of all causes. So this is where Krishna enters into all the elements so that they can be activated. They can then do their function. So this is how Krishna is everywhere. And Brahma Samhita says Krishna is in every atom and in between every atom. So this is the aspect or the time that Krishna actually enters. This also, those who have devotional vision, those whose eyes are tinged with pure love, they can see Krishna everywhere. because their eyes are tinged with love, naturally they will see Krishna everywhere because they're in love with Krishna. But Krishna is everywhere, in every atom and in between every atom. So he's definitely there, and therefore they also definitely see him. And the amazing thing is, even though Krishna is everywhere and Krishna is in every atom and in between every atom, the atheists will say he doesn't exist. There will be those that say God doesn't exist. There will be those that say I can't see God. So you can't see God not because God doesn't exist in between every atom and in every atom. You can't see Krishna because you have not developed your loving relationship with Krishna. You don't want Krishna in your life. You don't want to see Krishna. And because you don't want to see Krishna, then Krishna reciprocates accordingly. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that those who follow me or those who surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. If you have the mentality that Krishna doesn't exist or I don't see Krishna, I don't want to see Krishna, then Krishna responds accordingly. Text 3. Sonu pravishto Bhagavan chesta rupena tam ganam bhinam samyojayam asha suptam karma prabodhayan. Thus, when the personality of Godhead entered into the elements by his energy, all the living entities were enlivened into different activities, just as one is engaged in his work after awakening from sleep. Every individual soul remains unconscious after the dissolution of the creation and thus enters into the Lord with his material energy. These individual living entities are conditioned souls everlastingly, but in each and every material creation, they are given a chance to liberate themselves and become free souls. They are all given a chance to take advantage of the Vedic wisdom and find out what is their relationship with the Supreme Lord and how they can be liberated and what the ultimate profit is in such liberation. By properly studying the Vedas, one becomes conscious of his position and thus takes to the transcendental devotional service of the Lord and is gradually promoted to the spiritual sky. So Prabhupada is making it very clear here, firstly, what is the purpose of material creation. And if one studies the Vedas, one is exposed to the Vedas, what is the result? The result is that he becomes conscious of his position. So this is the first step. By studying the Vedas, by reading the Vedas, by being exposed to the knowledge of the Vedas, one clearly becomes conscious that I'm a spirit soul. There is Krishna and I belong to Krishna. I'm part of Krishna. I'm a servant of Krishna. When one becomes conscious, the next step is now to act in that relationship. So then one needs to engage in devotional service. And when one engages in devotional service, then gradually one begins to progress to the spiritual sky. The individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires. The individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires. So the question can be asked, what are you doing here? Why are you here? In terms of practically, right? If we are meant to be in the spiritual world, engaged in the eternal service of the Lord, then why did you land up here? And why are you here? And Prabhupada is making or answering that question very specifically. You are engaged in this material world according to your different activities. Why? Due to past unfinished desires. So your business was not complete. And what business? Well, in this case specifically, unfinished desires, unfinished material desires that were not completed, and therefore Krishna is giving you the facility to complete those desires. Now, we don't want to stay in the material world. And that means something needs to be done about those unfinished desires. So now the question is, what do we do with these unfinished desires? Because as long as you have desires, and as long as they are unfinished, how many have a bucket list? You have a bucket list. So I got all my things I need to do, right? You have a bucket list. Now consider you have a bucket list and you are on bucket list number 5 out of bucket list 20. And then you kick the bucket. So now what happened to your bucket list now? You kick the bucket. Next life, guess what? You're getting a bucket. And in the bucket, you already have 17 desires. You didn't even, you still in the womb, mother's womb. You haven't even come out. And already you got your bucket list. And people are very proud. They come out. Oh, I got a bucket list. Oh, really? You got a bucket list. Guess what happened? You're going to kick the bucket and come again. So we do not want a bucket list. We do not want any unfinished desires. So what are we going to do? Everybody is saying, imagine you ask your friends and say, hey, you have got a bucket list. No. Hey, you boring, man. You don't have, aren't you excited? You need to do something. So, do devotees, aspiring devotees, struggling devotees, pure devotees have desires? Please let me know in the chat. Do these categories of devotees have desires? Yes. Okay. Why? Now note, I didn't say material or spiritual desires. I just asked, do they have desires? Yes. My next question is why? Whether material or spiritual, the question is why? Why do conditioned souls, liberated souls, souls striving for perfection, why do they have material? Why do they have desires? Because Krishna has desires and we are part of him, so we also have desires. Good. Always desiring. Yes. The living entity must have some desire, not desireless. Because that's all you can do. That is the furthest that you can act, is that the living entity can only desire. The living entity desires, and Krishna then makes the arrangement. Nilamada was asking. It is mentioned that we initially came from the spiritual world. If we were there, how then did these material desires develop? You'll have to review all our previous sessions before you before we answer. We've covered this question multiple times. And Prabhupada also has given the same answer, and we're going to give you the same answer. Because if we don't understand it in context, then this question is going to keep coming up. Prabhupada would often say we have a relation with Krishna, and somehow or other we landed here. Now, that somehow or other can only be understood when you go to that dimension of where that happened. Let me give you an example. Your house is burning. There's an inferno. What's the first thing? Let's say you're sleeping, and all of a sudden you smell and you start choking. And you wake up due to the fumes and smoke, and you look around and there's only fire. What you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do? Get out. Get out, grab the kids and run out. Exactly. Are you going to get out, look around? Interesting. I wonder how this happened. Now you're speaking to your family members. Did you switch this off? No. You're going to get out. There is no time to question. There's an emergency, and the first thing you're going to do is get to safety. Once you're at safety outside, now from outside, you can start questioning, not from the inside. It's just the nature of reality. Right now, we are in the fire of samsara. To ask the question, how did I come here? Why did I come here? There's no material desires there, which is true. You're not going to get the answer. And even if you got the answer, you're not going to understand the answer. You're not going to accept the answer. And it's not the time to ask. So, first, get out of the material world. Once you're out of the material world, if you want the answer, then you can ask Krishna. Krishna, I have a question. Long pending question. It's been in my bucket list. That's the only question that's pending now. I need to ask you. Krishna is going to say, no problem. That question in your bucket list, you can ask what you wanted. Oh, how did we get to the material world? Krishna is going to reveal. Then you'll understand. In some purports, Srila Prabhupada describes that the living entities came from Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is also transcendental. It's the spiritual world. It's not the material creation. The material creation is one quarter of Krishna's creation. You weren't in there. You were in Mahavishnu's body. You manifested from Mahavishnu, which is also the spiritual world. So yeah, the question is not why we are here. The question is we are here and let's do something about it. And not that we're not answering the question. Certain questions cannot be understood or answered. And I, in the previous sessions, when this question came, I also gave the example. When I was like a small kid, I asked my mother, how did I come here? And I'm sure different parents have different ways to answer that. My mother just told me, don't ask that question. That's all. So she just said, don't ask the question. Like, I would have said, like, hey, what's the problem? I mean, can't you answer? Don't you know the answer? Yes. Some said a stock bought you. Some said, you just came. So just see, your mother is giving you an answer that it's not really factual, but even if she gave you the factual answer, you're not going to understand it at all. You'll have no clue because you're not developed fully to understand that. So they'll make an answer and just tell you that's all, and you accept. Okay. Same thing in school. -1, you can't. Just accept it and grow. And then when you get to higher grades, now, -1 is -2. Huh? I'm going to sue the teachers. You can't sue the teachers. That was your level of consciousness. So right now, according to our level of consciousness and understanding, the answer that is given of how you landed here and why you landed here is, don't worry about that question. That question is irrelevant right now. Not that you don't have an answer, not that there's no answer. It's irrelevant. It's not the right question to ask. In life, if you want to achieve anything, there are specific questions that need to be answered or asked. So the question and the answer really that we should be asking is, I'm here now, what should I do? And then our Prabhupada is saying, you are here because of unfinished desires. Now, this unfinished desire is coming from past life. And because of past life, we are here. So that was our question. The question was, why desires? Because that's the only thing the living entity can do, is desire. Bafana says, would I be right to say we are desires personified? And that very terrible coverage to contend with, till perhaps they are transcendental, they are transcended, because it could be that much as we are desires personified, maybe it's endowed with the potential to come around with them. Is that it? So we're not desires personified. We are spiritual beings, conscious spiritual beings. And because we are conscious spiritual beings, we have desires. Desires are likes and dislikes. Krishna is a conscious being. Therefore, he's got likes and dislikes. It's got nothing to do with personification of desires. And there are spiritual desires and there are material desires. Material desires keep us in the material world. Spiritual desires keep us in the spiritual world. Ivan says, we do not know the reason for coming here due to our forgetfulness. So the reason Krishna does not, okay, so the reason we are in this material world and the reason we came here is because we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. The living entity is minutely independent, and therefore he has a choice to serve or not to serve. Now, let me ask every one of you here a question. Right now, at this point, that means like at this time, when I'm asking you the question, answer this question. Is it wrong not to serve Krishna? Is it wrong not to serve Krishna? Right now, at this point in your life, if somebody had to ask you, is it wrong not to serve Krishna? Mother Les says, yes, it's wrong. Anybody else? Amavati says, yes. Ivan says, no. Right. So, Ivan, why do you say it's not wrong not to serve Krishna at this point in your life? If you want to unmute, you can unmute and chat. Let me know.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. My reason is that we've come here due to the Lord's mercy. And like you indicated previously, whatever we do is through the Lord's mercy. Hence, my actions I take are aligned to his mercy, but because of my ignorance, I do not know that I'm abiding by the mercy of the Lord. Hence, my view, it's not wrong. For example, you take a person that, let's say, is worshiping Lord Shiva. In his way, is still worshiping the Lord, but he does not know that. Maybe because of his ignorance, lack of intellect, or his gunas. But he's still worshiping it, but not knowing that. So you cannot say that this action is wrong, because every action is related through the mercy of the Lord. Thank you.
All right, good. So it's true that nothing happens without Krishna's will, sanction, or mercy. Just like Ravana and Kamsa, they were also acting under the Lord's potency. So agreed. But Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and the Lord himself, that's manifested in the form of scripture, what do they say? Do they say that for the living entity, it's okay to be in any situation because it's all the mercy of the Lord and desire of the Lord? Or do they say that no, there is only one option for the living entity, and that is to be in the service of the Lord, in the sense of the living entity's healthy state of consciousness, right? So the question is not related to when the living entity is ill, the living entity is sick. The question is, right now, all those that are here have already been exposed to Krishna consciousness, have already been educated. So the question is not in reference. I didn't say other living entities, those who are worshiping other demigods, those who are doing, my question was very specific. It was directed to you, all that are here in the chat. Like even Nilamada, people in different modes and worship different demigods. I didn't talk about other living entities. I'm going to rephrase my question. Those of you that are here in this Zoom call directly, I'm speaking to you. That means the question is related to you, not anyone else, not your friends, not demigod worshippers, not those in the material world. No, it's you. So at this point, if this question is presented to you directly at this point, so now, Ivan, if I'm speaking to you, if I say, Ivan, is it wrong for you not to serve Krishna? What would be your response?
Can I hear you? Can you hear me? Sorry, Prabhu.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Well, I'm still maintaining what I said initially, that whatever I do, the answer is still no.
Okay, good. Okay. All right.
And
happy.
I just put a note there. Irrespective of the level of Krishna consciousness or not, we still need to fulfill our past karmas. And that past karma could be is that in my first 10 years, I don't know about Krishna. I'm just giving an example.
Mm-hmm.
And the next 10 years, I become Krishna consciousness. That
Mm-hmm.
10 years that I do not know Krishna does not mean there isn't an influence of Krishna on me. To me, that is a form of worship, but it's out of my control because the Paramatma, in my view, is controlling this process. So
Correct.
I'm still saying that whatever I do is a sense. If you make this claim that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, is the creator of all creations, he is the originator of all actions, we are not at that level of intelligence to understand that, but I'm still doing that.
Good. All right. No, agree. So happy. So perfect. So in relation to you, and again, not everyone will answer the question as yes. Not everyone will answer it no. But those who answer it yes, that means at this point in your life, you are saying it's wrong if I'm not serving Krishna. Ivan is saying, no, it's not wrong. And that answer is not wrong. That answer is right in relation to his life, in relation to his journey, in relation to his spiritual growth. Okay? Now, let's take those who have said yes. That means you saying right now at this point in your time, in your life, you saying it's wrong to serve Krishna. Okay, now I want to ask another question to those that have said yes. Go back to the time before you were Krishna conscious. So obviously you started your Krishna conscious at a certain point in time. Go to that time and maybe like 5 years back. Got it? Go back to the time when you started Krishna consciousness, the first time you can sensibly say, I started Krishna consciousness, and then maybe 5 years back. Now answer the question. At that point, if I have to ask you the question at that point, is it wrong to serve Krishna? What would you say then? Now watch the answers, right? Hemavati says no. Let's see. Mother Lesh, what do you say? To serve or not to serve? Chamananda says, yeah, it doesn't matter. Serve or not to serve. Anybody else? Let's see what Mother Lesh says. Only Krishna. No. Exactly. Just see. Everybody's answer is going to be no. Which implies that we have unfinished desires of some sort. And until we do not understand what's true desires, what's real desires, what desires the soul should have, we will be in this cycle where we will not know what's right or what's wrong. We may take what's right to be wrong. We may take what's wrong to be right. We may take everything to be Krishna's mercy. We may just continue living. And that is why the guidance of the Bhagavatam is key. The Bhagavatam is guiding us. The Bhagavatam is revealing to us, not according to what we want, but according to what the Bhagavatam wants. And the Bhagavatam's wanting is Krishna's wanting. So, here, Prabhupada is making the point that the individual souls in the material world engage in different activities according to their past unfinished desires. We can never stop desiring, but we don't want material desires. We don't want desires for our own sense gratification. We want spiritual desires only for the pleasure of Hari Guru Vaishnava, only for the pleasure of Krishna. Even to have spiritual desires, we should be careful. Roshan says, Namkinka says, yes, it's our misfortune not to serve Krishna at this point in our life. Our good fortune is created by the spiritual master in Srimad Bhagavatam to bridge the gap between ourselves and Lord Krishna. Yes. So it's even dangerous to have spiritual desires within the material creation. For example, one disciple told Srila Prabhupada, I just love, my desire is that I come again and again and again to distribute your books. And Prabhupada said, be very careful. That's dangerous to desire. Don't desire like that. Because one day you may come into this material world, even though you want that desire, and the environment that you're growing up in may influence that desire and take you away. The danger is there. So right now, our desire should be that I simply want to please the devotees, please the spiritual master, please Srila Prabhupada, please Krishna through my actions. And whatever desires I have, can I use those desires? Can I dovetail those desires in the service of Krishna? That becomes the safety net. So, for example, I have an unfinished desire that I'm an artist and I love to paint. So, I don't know when that desire will be completely extinguished. And I don't want to wait until that desire becomes completely extinguished, because I have no clue when. I don't know the intensity of that desire. I don't know the extent of the desire. So what can I do? I simply take that artistic desire that I have and superimpose, dovetail it in the service of Krishna. So that means use that desire in Krishna service, in Krishna consciousness. Now, when you use that desire in Krishna consciousness, that desire has now become a blessing. Because if you like to do something and you are doing that which you like in the service of Krishna, are you happy or are you sad? If you like to do something and you're doing that which you like in the service of Krishna, are you happy or are you sad? You're very happy. You're ecstatic. You love it. You can keep going for hours and hours doing it, which means that you have a material desire dovetailed in Krishna consciousness and you're happy engaging in devotional service. You are fulfilling two goals. One, purifying the desire. You are not removing that desire. And the second is you are engaged in devotional service through that desire and becoming purified, developing a relationship with Krishna. Ivan says we need to orientate all our actions to the service of the Lord. That is our challenge. Oh, no doubt. Nobody said it's going to be easy. Nobody says it's going to be easy. But yes, that's the key. That's the objective. See, look at Arjuna. Arjuna was a warrior. What did he want to do? Quit. And Krishna said, no, no, no. You need to fight. But fight for me. Fight for my cause. So yes, now here is the challenge. One aspect of the challenge is you will not be able to dovetail all your material desires. all your actions, like cent percent. If you dovetail all your actions cent percent, it really means you're pure devotee. But if you dovetail majority of your actions, majority of your desires, especially what you eat, chanting the holy names, associating with the devotees, studying scripture, and then doing some practical service, just those aspects of your personality, if you dovetail, you'll be happy, and all the other desires, Krishna will take care. How he'll take care? Let me give you an example. Before I became a devotee, before I became an aspirant practitioner of Krishna consciousness, I loved to play volleyball. I had my Transvaal colors in volleyball and chess. So I loved volleyball. In fact, every day after school, the first thing we did after putting our school bag in the room was go and play volleyball. So I was attached to that. The day I joined Krishna consciousness, started practicing few days, that desire just dropped off. That desire just fell off. It's like it didn't even come into my thoughts to say, let me go play volleyball. I just lost the taste. So I didn't desire to give it up. I started engaging in devotional service, and that desire just dropped off. So that's how some of the desires will just drop off. Some desire will just become weak, because I'm focusing on very prominent activities in Krishna consciousness. And as long as I do that, all the other desires begin to take care of themselves. And slowly the desire to serve, the desire to bring Krishna in my life, the desire to become more Krishna conscious, the desire to remember Krishna, the desire to please Krishna, the desire to serve Srila Prabhupada becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, to such an extent that now, if you tell me to do something that is not pleasing Krishna against scripture, I will say I'm not interested. And eventually, when my only desire is to serve Lord Chaitanya, my only desire is to serve Krishna, and I have no other separate desires, because I'm already fulfilled. I'm already happily fulfilled, completely fulfilled in the service of Lord Chaitanya. Then I'm already in the spiritual world. There is no material desires that can hold me down. And even if there is few unfinished desires, no problem. Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, they know my heart. They're already there. They know me better than I know them. I know myself. They'll make the due arrangements. They'll happily make the perfect arrangements. We give the example of these material desires are like seeds. And when you take seeds and you stir fry them, shallow fry them in some oil, when you fry them and now you plant them in the ground, they're not going to fructify. So when we engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness, our material desires are getting fried. And therefore, those material desires will now not fructify. And then the last point in this regard, before we move on, is that there may be some material desires that are very, very strong. very powerful. They call Narutas unwanted desires. And even though you are engaging in devotional service, but those material desires may be so strong that even after 10 years, 20 years of practice, those material desires are still there. And they may be a little weak, getting weaker, but they may still be there. So in that case, you simply have to continue serving and have faith that in due course of time, those material desires will be shaken, broken down, and dissolved. Prabhupada then continues. After the dissolution of a particular body, the individual soul forgets everything. But the all-merciful Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart as the witness, the Super Soul, awakens him and reminds him of his past desires. And thus he begins to act according to his next life. So see, Krishna, even though the material desires are dangerous for us, guess what Krishna is doing? He's facilitating, he's reminding us, hey, you remember you want to be an artist? Oh, you remember you wanted to be the king? Oh, yeah. Here's the facility. So apparently it seems Krishna is not doing the right thing. No, he's doing the perfect thing, just like a compassionate father. The son, the father's duty, the father wants to make sure that the son is happy. Even though Krishna doesn't want you to fulfill your material desires, because he knows it's not good for you, but you want it and you wanted it, Krishna makes arrangements and facilitates. The one reason why Krishna allows you to forget when the creation is dissolved, the Lord makes you forget because now you need to go back into Mahavishnu in slumber. So you cannot remember your material desires in that state because then you'll really be miserable. So therefore, the Lord allows you to forget, puts you in slumber state until the next creation. When the next creation comes out, now you continue, you're reminded, and you continue your journey. It's Krishna's mechanism to reduce your suffering. Just like there was one devotee, he was in his car driving, and he, the traffic lights went green, so he took off. And the traffic that was coming, for them it was red. Unfortunately, not sure what happened, but the driver that was driving a truck, he skipped the robot and rammed into the driver's side. So naturally, the car somersaulted and devotee, was survived. I asked him, when you turned, you saw the truck coming. It was too late to do anything. Then you got hit. So I asked him, when the truck hit the car and you were in there, what happened? Did you go through the motion of the accident? He said, no. He said the impact made him unconscious. And then all that he realized was when he woke up in hospital, and then he saw himself, what's happening here? So we started speaking. And he said, see how interesting, the conclusion was, just see how merciful Krishna is. Krishna made the mechanism that there would be a collision, and in that collision, the traumatic situation or the whatever, however, you would fall into a unconscious state. So that, the car somersaulting and the glass and whatever else, you would not feel, even though you get cut and bruised and beaten up in that car, in that vehicle, you would not feel the pain. And then, you get to hospital, they inject you, do whatever they have to do, now you wake up, half drugged. So Krishna made a mechanism for us to not feel pain. Similarly, when we go back into Mahavishnu, the Lord makes an arrangement to make us forget so that we can be in slumber. And then when the new creation starts, life now needs to continue. Krishna said, oh no, he wanted to fulfill desire. I need to facilitate, I need to help him. Krishna then allows us to come back into the material world and continue. So yes, everyone's life is by the mercy of Krishna in this sense. Nothing happens without Krishna's mercy and sanction. This unseen guidance is described as fate. And a sensible man can understand that this continues his material bondage in the three modes of nature. The unconscious sleeping stage of the living entity just after partial or total dissolution of creation is wrongly accepted as the final stage of life by some less intelligent philosophers. So even though all this is arranged, it's all sanctioned by the Lord, but it's not what the Lord truly wants. Now, those of you that are parents, you go to the supermarket with your kid, and your kid sees something in the aisle that's not good for him. And now he throws a tantrum, or she throws a tantrum. I want this, I want this, I want this. And you saying no. And boy, oh boy, when children really get going, they really get going. And the only way to make them quiet is to just give them what they want. Now, when you give them what they want, they may say, oh yeah, just see, my parents, or let's take it, some people, or even the kid may say, just see, my mother, my father is giving me what I want. They want to give me what I want. No, they don't want to give you what you want. They know it's wrong for you. But you're so stubborn, you're not going to listen. And just to keep you quiet, they're giving you what you want. So it's not like the parents really truly love what they're doing. But out of necessity, they're doing that. So Krishna also, this is not really truly what he wants us to be involved in going into Mahavishnu, coming out, going into Mahavishnu, coming out. No, this is not what Krishna wants us to come to the spiritual world eternally. That is what Krishna is desiring. But Krishna is not going to force that journey, because then that's against our minute independence, and that's not true love. So therefore, Krishna will facilitate what we want. He will then bring the knowledge of what he wants in our life, and then we make the choice. And Krishna also again will give you as much time or as little time you need to make that decision. He's not going to hold anything against us. Krishna never holds any grudges. Last year I sent you a devotee. Just see where you ended up. I'm fed up now. Last 100 years, 100 lifetimes, I've been sending you a devotee. I've been sending you the Bhagavad Gita. And still, you thick-headed rascal, nonsense. I had enough. I'm not interested. Krishna never thinks like that. Krishna never feels like that. Krishna has unlimited compassion, kindness, and Krishna will keep striving, keep that relationship burning, even though we may reject him 1 billion times. Krishna will never, ever reject us. Krishna will never ever forsake us. Even if we transmigrate in 8,400,000 species a billion times in worm bodies, in lower species, Krishna will always accompany us as a friend and keep directing, keep highlighting and directing until we decide that actually I had enough now, Krishna. I want to come back. I need your mercy. Then Krishna becomes very happy and Krishna starts to facilitate that journey also. He was facilitating your journey in this material world. Krishna will facilitate your journey out of the material world. That journey of us, that activity of facilitating your journey out of the material world, Krishna is far more excited and very happy. Right. After the dissolution of the partial material body, a living entity remains unconscious for only a few months. And after the total dissolution of the material creation, he remains unconscious for many millions of years. But when the creation is again revived, he is awakened to his work by the Lord. The living entity is eternal, and the wakeful state of his consciousness, manifested by activities, is his natural condition of life. He cannot stop acting while awake, and thus he acts according to his diverse desires. When his desires are trained in the transcendental service of the Lord, his life becomes perfect, and he is promoted to the spiritual sky to enjoy eternal awakened life. So when his desires are trained in transcendental service, it's not going to be automatic. It's not going to just fall upon you. You have to train yourself. It's about understanding. It's about coaching. It's about redirecting your desires. And that's why different individuals at different stages are not wrong. They just at that stage according to their existence. And the pure devotees, they come, and what they're doing, they're trying to train all the living entities in the right direction of true spiritual health. True spiritual health means our perfect situation, not our conditioned situation. Our true condition is to be in the spiritual world. Just like if somebody is ill and they go to the doctor prescribes no more sugar for you, no more tomatoes for you. So they give you a restricted diet. The only reason they're giving you a restricted diet, not because you need to follow a restricted diet, but because you are ill and therefore there's a restricted diet. In the healthy state, you can have the diet, no problem. But when you're ill, there's a restriction. Just like when you have some stomach issue, then you may have to fast. So fasting is not a normal diet. I'm not going to eat anymore. I'm going to fast. No, that's not normal. But when you're ill, then fasting may be conducive. So similarly, Krishna reveals to us what is our healthy state. Scripture is revealing to us what is our healthy state. And that healthy state is when our desires are perfectly aligned in transcendental service of the Lord. And then we are promoted to the spiritual sky. Text 4. Prabhuda karma devena trayo vimsati shatiko gana prerito janayat swabir matrabir adipurusham When the 23 principal elements were set in action by the will of the Supreme, the gigantic universal form, or the Vishwarup body of the Lord, came into existence. So we covered in the second canto, this topic was covered extensively. Again, we are hearing the Virat Rupa or Vishwarup, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, which is very much appreciated by the impersonalists, is not an eternal form of the Lord. It is manifest by the supreme will of the Lord after the ingredients of the material creation. The Lord Krishna exhibited this Virat or Vishwarup to Arjuna just to convince the impersonalists that he is the original personality of Godhead. Krishna exhibited the Virat Rupa. Krishna exhibited the Virat Rupa. It is not that Krishna was exhibited by the Virat Rupa. The Virat Rupa is not, therefore, an eternal form of the Lord exhibited in the spiritual sky. It is a material manifestation of the Lord. The Acha Vigraha, or the worshipable deity in the temple, is a similar manifestation of the Lord for the neophytes. But in spite of such material touch, such forms of the Lord as the Virat and the Archa are all non-different from his eternal form as Lord Krishna. 5. Parena Vishata Swashmin Matraya Vishva Shrikana Chukshoban Nonyam Asadya Yasmin Lokas Chara Chara. As the Lord in his plenary portion entered into the elements of the universal creation, they transformed into the gigantic form in which all the plenary systems and all movable and immovable creations rest. The elements of cosmic creation are all matter, and no potency to increase in volume, and have no potency to increase in volume unless entered into by the Lord in his plenary portion. This means that matter does not increase or decrease unless it is spiritually touched. Matter is a product of spirit and increases only by the touch of spirit. So the perfect example of this, matter is a product of spirit and increases only by the touch of spirit, the material body. The material body will grow. It will increase in size. It will grow, especially in the initial stages of life. Why? Because there's spirit. Soon as the spirit leaves, it begins to decompose, dwindle. The entire cosmic manifestation has not assumed its gigantic form by itself, as wrongly calculated by less intelligent persons. As long as spirit is within matter, matter can increase as needed. But without the spirit, matter stops increasing. For example, as long as there is spiritual consciousness within the material body of a living entity, the body increases to the required size. But a dead material body has no spiritual consciousness, stops increasing. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, importance is given to the spiritual consciousness, not the body. The entire cosmic body increased by the same process that we experience in our small bodies. One should not, however, foolishly think that the individual infinitesimal soul is the cause of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The universal form is called the Virat Rupa because the Supreme Lord is within it in his plenary portion. 6. Hiranmaya sa Purusha Sahasra Parivartsaran Andakosha Uva Pash Uva Sapshu Sarvas Satvopa Brim Hita. The gigantic Virat Purusha, known as Hiranmaya, lived for 1,000 celestial years on the water of the universe, and all the living entities lay lay with him. After the Lord entered each and every universe as the Garbhodaksai Vishnu, half of the universe was filled with water. The cosmic manifestation of the planetary systems, outer space, etc., which are visible to us, is only one half of the complete universe. Before the manifestation takes place, and after the entrance of Vishnu within the universe, there is a period of 1,000 celestial years. All the living entities injected within the womb of the Mahatattva are divided in all universes with the incarnation of Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and all of them lie down with the Lord until Brahma is born. Brahma is the first living being within the universe, and from him all other demigods and living creatures are born. Manu is the original father of mankind, and therefore in Sanskrit mankind is called Manushya. Humanity in different bodily qualities is distributed throughout the various planetary systems. So we've been hearing Mahavishnu glances at the Mahatattva, Pradhan, unmanifested material ingredients, the material energy, activates the material energy. And at the same time, in that glance is all the living entities that were brought back into his abdomen at the time of dissolution. So when the Lord now wants to recreate creation through his glance, all the living entities now impregnated into the material energy. So right now, all the living entities that need to be in this material world, material creation, is in the material energy, Durga. Then creation begins to activate, like we heard in the previous chapter. And now, while that's happening, from Mahavishnu's body, he's breathing, and from his pores, because he's lying in the coastal ocean, as he's breathing, bubbles manifest. Those bubbles are empty universes. As the bubbles come out, they expand and expand and expand to different sizes. So now we have Mahavishnu glancing at the material energy, impregnating Durga, impregnating all the living entities in her womb. We have the empty universes manifesting. Then, when Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodaksai Vishnu in each universe, he enters into each universe. Again, because there is no air conditioning, he perspires, and half the universe gets filled with water. Sheshnag manifests. He lies on the Garbha, on that Garbha ocean. And when Garbhodaksai Vishnu manifests in every universe, half the universe is filled with water. That's why Prabhupada is making the point that only half the universe is really visible in terms of what we see. So then all the living entities that are meant to be in their respective universes are then moved into Mahavishnu's body. So each one is allocated their specific universe according to their past karma, according to their next continuation of journey. So in one universe, in each universe, all the living entities that need to be in that universe are now in Mahavishnu's body. They stay there for 1,000 celestial years. After 1,000 celestial years, it is described that the living entity that in in that group of living entities, the living entity that has the highest piety points, he shoots out of Garbhagriya Vishnu's abdomen, and a lotus stem begins to sprout with a lotus on top. And that living entity shoots up through the stem and is now born as Brahma. It's also described that when we entered into the material creation for the first time ever, every single one of us had the opportunity to be Brahma. So then Brahma is born, and then creation, subsequent creation, secondary creation then begins to manifest. All the living entities injected within the womb of the Mahatattva are divided in all the universes with the incarnation of Garbhagriya Vishnu, and all of them lie down with the Lord until Brahma is born. Brahma is the first living being within the universe, and from him all the other demigods and living creatures are born. Right? That. Text 7. Savai Vishwa Shrijam Garbo Deva Karmatma Shaktiman Viva Bhajat Mam Natmanam Ekada Dashada Trida. The total energy of the Mahatattva in the form of the gigantic Vishwarup divided himself by himself into the consciousness of the living entities, the life of activity and self-identification, which are subdivided into 1, 10, and 3 respectively. Consciousness is a sign of the living entity or the soul. The existence of the soul is manifest in the form of consciousness, known as Jnana Shakti. The total consciousness is that of the gigantic Virat Rupa, and the same consciousness is exhibited in individual persons. The activity of consciousness is performed throughout the air of life, which is of 10 divisions. The airs of life are called prana, apana, udana, vyana, and samana, and are also differently qualified as Naga, Kurma, Krikara, Devadatta, and Dhananjaya. The consciousness of the soul becomes polluted by the material atmosphere, and thus various activities are exhibited in the false ego of the bodily identification. These various activities are described in Bhagavad Gita 241 as Bahushaka, Yanantascha Buddhayo Vyavasayinam. The conditioned soul is bewildered into various activities for the want of pure consciousness. In pure consciousness, the activity is one. The consciousness of the individual soul becomes one with the supreme consciousness when there is complete synthesis between the two. The monists believe that there's only one consciousness, whereas the sattvatas, or the devotees, believe that although there is undoubtedly one consciousness, they are one because there is agreement. The individual consciousness is advised to dovetail with the supreme consciousness, as instructed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarva Dharman Pariteja, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. So Prabhupada is making the point, in pure consciousness, the activity is one. And the Upanishads, so remember the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutras, the Upanishads, they are short, succinct statements. Here we see the Vedanta Sutras is expanded, or the direction, the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra is the Bhagavatam. And therefore, Prabhupada is expanding even the Bhagavatam, all the purports or expansions of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is a commentary and expansion of the Vedanta Sutra. So all the purports are there for us to understand properly. But the Vedanta Sutra is summarizing all these things in succinct one statement. Like if you have to reference to the Vedanta Sutra, you find such statements like pure consciousness activity is one. It's like there is only one consciousness. There is one source. There is one everything. So when we do not understand it in proper context, we think the living entity's consciousness and the Supreme's consciousness is one consciousness. But Prabhupada is making very clear that yes, even though it's one consciousness, undoubtedly, because here we find that the living entity's consciousness is triggered, is awakened by the Supreme Consciousness. At the same time, the individual consciousness is, or rather probably saying, the oneness is in relationship to agreement. When Jesus says, I and my Father are one. See, he's also making a statement, like a sutra. I and my Father are one. The Vedanta Sutras make the same thing, Aham Brahmasmi. So therefore everybody concludes, everybody is God. Then Shichit Mahaprabhu comes and he says, no, Jive Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. Krishna is the only master, everybody is servant, including Krishna's expansions. So Lord Chaitanya is giving the perfect conclusion that it's not all one. And when Jesus says, I and my Father are one, what's the implication? What's the understanding? What's the proper understanding? It's not what you're hearing, it's what is the proper understanding. What is he telling you? Because he's not stupid. He's not dumb. He's self-realized. He knows exactly what he's saying. But you're not ready to understand. Or you're not ready to even question. Prabhupada is not even waiting for us to come to that proper understanding or even question. Prabhupada is just giving to us in his purpose. He's not even waiting. He's just giving you, this is the right understanding. So what's the right understanding? I and my Father are one in agreement. Because the living entity cannot be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are fallible, you are a spark, and Krishna is the inferno. The inferno cannot be extinguished, but the spark has the potential to become ash, to be extinguished as soon as they come out of the fire. The individual consciousness is advised to dovetail with the Supreme Consciousness as extracted in Bhagavad Gita. The individual consciousness, Arjuna, is advised to dovetail with the Supreme Consciousness and thus maintain his conscious purity. It is foolish to try to stop the activity of consciousness, but they can be purified when they are dovetailed with the Supreme. This consciousness is divided into three modes of self-identification according to the proportion of purity. Adhyatmika, or self-identification with the body and mind. Adibhautika, or self-identification with the material products. And Adidevika, or self-identification as a servant of the Lord. of the three, Adidevika, self-identification, is the beginning of purity of consciousness in pursuance of the desire of the Lord. So I'm this body, I'm part of nature, and then I'm a servant. Different levels of consciousness. Somebody who is thinking I'm this body, he's not really wrong. It's just that that's where he is at. So you can't say he's wrong. That's where he is, which means he's right. But when you understand the bigger picture, now you can understand that there's a better scenario. There's a better level of identification. And what's the better level of identification? You are part of nature. That's not wrong, but it's just incomplete. It's just not the greatest, the perfection. There is even a higher level of consciousness or self-identification. And what's that higher level of self-identification? I'm a servant of the Lord. Now that also is not wrong, but that also is not complete. There's a higher level of self-identification as a servant of the Lord. And what is that? That I am serving the Lord in neutrality. I'm serving the Lord as a servant. I'm serving the Lord as a friend. I'm serving the Lord as a parent. I'm serving the Lord in conjugal relationship. And then you could say, even that's not the highest in perfection. If I'm serving the Lord as a parent, then what is my service in that relationship? How am I serving Mother Yashoda in that service? What do I do in that service? So this is how self-identification is becoming more and more and more perfect until it is perfected in its ultimate manifestation in relation to giving pleasure to Krishna in the spiritual world. 8. Esha ya shesha sattvanam atmamsa paramatmana adyavat taro yatrasho bhutagramo vibhavyate. The gigantic universal form of the Supreme Lord is the first incarnation and plenary portion of the Supersoul. He is the self of an unlimited number of living entities, and in him rests the aggregate creation, which thus flourishes. The Supreme Lord expands himself in two ways: by personal plenary expansions and separated minute expansions. The personal plenary expansions are Vishnu Tattvas, and the separated expansions are living entities. Here we go again in relation to these statements. The Vedanta Sutra will also make this point. And again, if it makes the statement that we are all manifestations of the expansions of the Lord, see, we got yes and no. And Prabhupada is now, the Bhagavatam is expanding to clarify. There is plenary expansions and there is separated expansions. So yes, both are expansions, but different categories. Since the living entities are very small, they are sometimes described as the marginal energy of the Lord. But the mystic yogis consider living entity and the super soul Paramatma to be one and the same. It is, however, a minor point of controversy. After all, everything created rests on the gigantic Virat or universal form of the Lord. So yeah, it's not the end of the world if they think like that. But by thinking like that, you bar yourself from greater opportunity of service. And it is the service that gives pleasure to the living entities. So when the living entity is suffocating for pleasure, he'll have to come to this understanding that actually I am eternally separated, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. I'm never equal or above the Supreme Lord. 9. Sadyatma Sadidevascha Sadibhuta iti trida Virat prano dasha vida ekada hridayena cha. The gigantic universal form is represented by 3, 10, and 1 in the sense that he is the body and the mind and the senses. He is the dynamic force for all movements by 10 kinds of life energies, and he is the one heart where life energy is generated. In Bhagavad Gita 7.4.5, it is stated that there are 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego, are all products of the Lord's inferior energy, whereas the living entities who are seen to utilize the inferior energy originally belong to the superior energy, the internal potency of the Lord. The 8 inferior energies work grossly and subtly, whereas the superior energy works as the central generating force. This is experienced in the human body. The gross elements, namely earth, etc., form the external gross body and are like a coat, whereas the subtle mind and false ego acts like the inner clothing of the body. The movements of the body are first generated from the heart, and all the activities of the body are made possible by the senses, powered by the 10 kinds of air within the body. The 10 kinds of air are described as follows. The main air passing through the nose is in breathing is called prana. The air which passes through the rectum as evacuated bodily air is called apana. The air which adjusts the foodstuffs within the stomach and which sometimes sounds as belching is called samana. The air which passes through the throat and the stoppage of which constitutes suffocation is called udana air. The total air which circulates throughout the entire body is called vyana air. The subtler than these 5 airs, there are others also. That which facilitates the opening of the eyes, mouth, etc., is called naga air. The air which increases appetite is called krikara air, and the air which helps constriction is called kurma air. The air which helps relaxation by opening the mouth wide in yawning is called devadatta air, and the air which helps sustenance is called dhananjaya air. All these airs are generated from the center of the heart, which is one only. The central energy is superior energy of the Lord, who is seated within the heart with the soul of the body, who acts under the guidance of the Lord. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 as follows. Sarvasya chaham hridisani vishto matas mritik gnanopahanam cha vedesha sarvam aham eva vedyo vedanta krit veda vid eva chaham. The complete central force is generated from the heart by the Lord, who is seated there and who helps the conditioned soul in remembering and forgetting. The conditioned state is due to the soul's forgetfulness of his relationship of subordination to the Lord. One who wants to continue to forget the Lord is helped by the Lord to forget him birth after birth. But one who remembers him by dint of association with the devotee of the Lord is helped to remember him more and more. Thus, the conditioned soul can ultimately go back home, back to Godhead. This process of transcendental help by the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 10:10 as follows. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. The buddhi yoga process of self-realization with intelligence, transcendental to mind, devotional service, can alone elevate one from the conditioned state of material entanglement in the cosmic construction. The conditioned state of the living entity is like that of a person who is within the depth of a huge mechanical arrangement. The mental speculators can reach the point of Buddhi Yoga after many, many lifetimes of speculation, but the intelligent person who begins from the platform of intelligence above the mind makes rapid progress in self-realization. Because Buddhi Yoga process entails no fear of deterioration or retrogression at any time, it is the guaranteed path to self-realization as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 240. Mental speculators cannot understand that the two birds, Shvetashwara Upanishad, sitting in one tree are the soul and the supersoul. The individual soul eats the fruit of the tree, while the other bird does not eat the fruit but only observes the activities of the eating bird. Without attachment, the witnessing bird helps the fruit-eating bird perform fruitive activities. One who cannot understand this difference between the soul and the supersoul of God and the living entity is certainly still in the entanglement of the cosmic machinery, and thus must still await the time when he will be free from bondage. 10. Smaran Vishwa Shrijam Isho Vigna Pitam Adokshaja Viram Jam Atapa Sivena Tejasai Sam Vivritaye. Supreme Lord is the super soul of all the demigods entrusted with the task of constructing the cosmic manifestation. Being thus prayed to by the demigods, he thought to himself and thus manifested the gigantic form for their understanding. The impersonalists are captivated by the gigantic universal form of the Supreme. They think that the control behind this gigantic manifestation is an imagination. Intelligent persons, however, can estimate the value of the cause by observing the wonders of the effects. For example, the individual human body does not develop from the womb of the mother independently, but because the living entity, the soul, is within the body. Without the living entity, a material body cannot automatically take shape or develop. When any material object displays development, it must be understood that there is a spiritual soul within the manifestation. The gigantic universe has developed gradually, just as the body of a child develops. Conception that transcendence enters within the universe is therefore logical. As the materials cannot find the soul and the supersoul within the heart, similarly, for want of sufficient knowledge, they cannot see that the Supreme Soul is the cause of the universe. The Lord is therefore described in the Vedic language as Avan Manasa Gochara, beyond the conception of words and minds. Due to poor fund of knowledge, when mental speculators try to bring the Supreme within the purview of words and minds, but the Lord refuses to be so intelligible. The speculators have no adequate words or mind to gauge the infinity of the Lord. The Lord is called Adokshaja, or the person who is beyond perception by the blunt, limited potency of the senses. One cannot perceive the transcendental name or form of the Lord by mental speculation. The mundane PhDs are completely unable to speculate on the Supreme with their limited senses. Such attempts by the puffed up PhDs are compared to the philosophy of frog in a well. A frog in a well was informed of the gigantic Pacific Ocean, and he began to puff himself up in order to understand or measure the length and breadth of the Pacific Ocean. Ultimately, the frog burst and died. The title PhD can also be interpreted as plow department, a title meant for the tillers in the paddy field. The attempt of the tillers in the paddy field to understand the cosmic manifestation and the cause behind such wonderful work can be compared to the endeavor of the frog in the well to calculate the measurement of the Pacific Ocean. The Lord can reveal himself only to a person who is submissive and who engages in his transcendental loving service. Demigods controlling the elements, the ingredients of the universal affairs, prayed to the Lord for guidance, and thus he manifested his gigantic form as he did at the request of Arjuna. So the Lord heard their prayers, and after hearing their prayers, he manifested this universal form. As Prabhupada is explaining, this universal form is basically how Krishna then manifests in all facets of creation. Everything's coming, and we heard also in the second canto how all different facets of material creation, all different parts of the universal form. So in this way, the blueprint of creation, the functioning of creation, the manifestation of creation, is all coming from this Hiranya Garbha, this blueprint, which then Brahma also uses in continuing secondary creation. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai go Premanande Hari Hari Lo. Right, let's see if there's any questions. Nilamara says, please excuse my ignorance, but if we were Brahma, did we as Brahma create aparat to start again as aquatic and move up the ladder to human beings? Yes. You are Brahma and you became a nonsense. How? Very simple. There are different types of Brahmas. In our case, we can conclude that when you became Brahma, you must use your mind-duty independence again. How? It's called influence. So this is what happens. And we hear this even in the Bhagavatam. You can imagine there is nothing but you. You can't even see Mahavishnu. All you can see is you. And now you begin to, obviously Krishna bestows the intelligence of how to create. You begin to create creation. After you create everything, instead of thinking, Krishna, this is all by your sweet will. I'm nothing. I'm simply an instrument. You think I'm good, eh? Just see. I'm able to create. I'm powerful. Now, when you think like that, I'm good, I'm great, I'm powerful. What mode is that? Mode of passion. So therefore, you can't stay in that mode or position of Brahma. You get disqualified as a demigod in a mode of passion. So now you can start acting in that service. And then slowly like that, you start to degrade, you start to fall. So yes, unfortunately, due to association, due to the lower modes, due to wrong thinking, we basically fall lower and lower and lower. And over time, right down to aquatics. And then we have to come up. Consider Indra. Indra is the post of heaven. Did he fall into lower species? By becoming proud and puffed up? By disregarding his guru? He even became a hog. Yeah, he became a pig, he became a hog. So, yes, we unfortunately must use our mind-duty independence. That's the danger. You can't say, no, in that position, how can you? When you're in that position, you can understand how dangerous it is. What to talk about that position? I remember Srila Bhakti Charamaj, he was making the point that even to be a guru is very dangerous. Because as a guru, like on Vyasa Puja and all these festivals, they get so much honor. And Maj was making the point that as soon as you think this honor is for me, you are fallen. So how fine, how subtle, how dangerous that is. The only reason you getting this honor is because of Prabhupada, because of your connection with Prabhupada, because of your surrender to Prabhupada. If it wasn't for Prabhupada, you would be nothing. But when you start thinking, wow, I'm a guru, I'm great, to see how wonderful, that becomes danger. And Mao just saying, therefore, it's like, a dangerous position. I wouldn't want to be in that position. Better not be in that position. Madhuri is saying, if you're sitting on a high seat, you can fall. If you're sitting on the ground, you can't fall. So now some of them, if they take that service, well, you take that service, you have to understand. Indra wants to take that service, he better be careful. Brahma wants to take that service, he better be careful. So, yes, unfortunately, that is the situation. Ivan says, in the invocation of Sri Shopanishad, it states that the Lord is complete. Yes. And therefore all his creation are complete. Yes. What does this have? Does this have a different interpretation? No. He's right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Krishna is complete. He manifests in all his expansions, they complete. He manifests as the living entity is complete. He manifests his energies in the form of creation is complete. So all of Krishna's creation facets are complete. And even though Krishna is expanding and creating all these aspects, all through his energies, he remains the complete whole. So there is no different interpretation. It is all complete. Just like this material creation is created apparently with many deficiencies, many difficulties, many challenges, but it's created complete for its purpose and function. The living entity is minute and prone to fall, prey, according to its association. That itself is complete. Just like a prison that is created is not meant for ordinary people, for good citizens. It's meant for those who break the laws. But you can't say it's bad. The government doesn't say, oh, prison is bad. No, the government says that's good. We must have it. It's complete from the government's perspective. But it's not meant for all the good citizens. It's meant for those that deviate. So like that, Krishna's creation is complete. Right. Emma, but it's a beautiful class, beautiful art. Thank you so much. Hearing Bhagavatam, so nice. Can't believe class is already over. Yes. Believe it or not. Shamanan was a thank you, Prabhu and Maharaji. Nice class with devotees and live and discussion. We have lots to learn. Well, they say never stop learning. Scripture is like that. Krishna conscious is like that. We can never stop learning. If you think I know it all, I learned it all, well, unfortunately, you haven't. So we keep associating, keep learning, keep polishing, keep reminding ourselves. This is the beauty part of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means living by continuing to hear and educate ourselves. Get new realizations, keep hearing. That is Krishna consciousness. Unlimited hearing, unlimited learning. Ram Kinger Prabhu says, razor edge. That is how dangerous it is to keep the honor and worship for oneself. Yes. As soon as you keep the honor, you fall. In fact, even when one is offering sacrifice in a yajna, the mantras end up with Krishna Namaha. There's a certain mantras that they recite. And that is indicating that Krishna, all this is for you. The result is for you. The offering is for you. Nothing for me. And a transparent via media is meant to take what they get and pass it on. As soon as they claim, trouble. It's dangerous. It's difficult. It must be passed on the disciplic succession all the way back to Krishna. Yes. There are many traps and many dangers on the royal road. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, the royal road to the spiritual world is laid with thorns. So we have to be very careful. Hare Krishna, thank you for an awesome association. It's called lifelong learning. Yes. And we're happy to be lifelong students, because that is what Krishna consciousness is all about. As long as you stay in the school of learning. And why? Because Krishna is unlimited. Because he's unlimited, he's ever expanding. That means there is never a time when you know him completely. So therefore, we just keep learning, keep reading, keep associating. Anandam Bodhi Vardhanam, ever expanding knowledge, ever expanding association, ever expanding bliss. The key is for us to develop a taste for associating with the Bhagavatam. If we can develop a taste, and not just develop a taste, but develop a greed, intense greed, lobha, then that is the greatest gift, the greatest benediction, the greatest blessing. And we can pray that our desire, that our greed intensifies more and more and more, so that I want to hear, I want to chant, I want to hear more and more, serve more and more, love Krishna more and more, become more and more Krishna conscious. In this way, our life will become sublime, perfect, and no doubt blissful. Thank you very much for everyone's feedback, association, comments, questions. We will continue with chapter 6 next week. Vantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo.